Welcome, everybody, to our monthly forecast and discussion of current energies. We start our discussion with a review of the months that we're in. Yeah, we still have a few days to go, and contemplate about how these things that were basically already foreseeable in August, how they came to play or how they were playing out. I call them antidotes. This refers back to the forecast that I did for 21, 22, and 23, which was called inoculation. And this is all clear now what I meant with it back then. But in the beginning of December last year, all that wasn't so visible. Now we know why. I was talking about certain things that are coming to expression as we speak in real time, and especially in October. Here, just real quick, the new energy alignment for October is out. It's called Integrity. You can go to SoundCloud and listen to it there. My name is Jona Bryndis, and we are looking at the collective energy as it displays itself. It's not a channeling or a prediction. It's actually more of a report, something that I have already basically read out here at transCODES, working with energetically sensitives and precognitively trained people from all over the world. In October, we're dealing with some very pivotal developments for our societies here that will probably last for another year and a half. This is also where I basically sort of come up with the predictions that until the end of 22, the beginning, the spring of 23, that we're going to have to deal with the whole COVID-related shifts and changes here in our society. Here in September, it is really the month this year where the main theme of this whole sort of shift in our societies, how this is coming about and what needs to happen in October is when it takes on form. So most of my audience here, you watching and you present here with the live discussion, you guys are energetically sensitives or empathic in some way. And those are all things that you have been picking up on all along. All right. But for now, this has been something that we needed to process in the shadows unless we were able to find communities where a deeper self-healing and the discussion was possible, where there was a safe space enough without judgment or without specialness to discuss all these things. So for us, it's almost like it's been there all along for a long time already. But for many people, these things that are coming here to the forefront, that are being revealed here in these weeks of September and October, are new, and that requires us to recognize that there is, of course, a lot of confusion and a lot of, cognitive dissonance in all of us. And I want to reflect here on just like how that is going to be perceived, and without going into causation, without going into like who's responsible for what or speculating about this. I just really want to report about how this is going to feel for us. The main developments here in October as compared to September, where it was just basically sort of news that was coming out every day, over and over, and it won't stop, guys. This is something that will continue to happen here throughout the rest of the year, that shows us a new reality. And right now what we're having is almost like sort of a straddling two worlds situation, this bifurcation that I've mentioned so many times, where we have multiple or at least two different realities that we are seeing ourselves in, because for each piece of information that is coming out, we're getting just as many sort of counter pieces of information, which is something that is really concerning right now, because it really messes with people's brains. It really makes people lose their heads. I've talked a lot about this in the past, and there's many workshops and lectures and talks that you can listen to here on my YouTube channel, explaining this in more depth. But the point being that this sort of narrative, how the world is, or how we are supposed to see the world, that this is now slowly breaking down. And we are looking at some really concerning developments here in October. We don't need to be afraid of that, because it is not what we think it is. It is in a completely different way. There'll be a completely new perspective, and a need to recontextualize some of the things that we have believed in. Yeah. Again, here for many of you, this isn't really news, but for the majority of people out there, it is. And so once more, please, guys, have patience, have understanding that for what is happening here right now, this dealing with multiple realities, that the majority of people out there are not able to, or just not trained to do this like you are. Okay, you have painfully experienced what that means to see the world in a different way all along, and you've developed coping mechanisms, some of which maybe weren't that healthy, but you have maybe put effort into the healing of that, yeah, through bringing in the spiritual component, through bringing in sort of more body awareness and more self-love, and educating yourself on how, you know, trauma, inner child, and shadow work and so forth, how that all works in the practical. And so you have already developed maybe through necessity, okay, tools to deal with what is about to break down some of the main structures here in our collective in these next 3 months. Okay, so we're looking at things such as failing diplomacy between countries that used to be allies. We're looking at something that will, and I only wrote it down like literally the way this was displayed to me, that will probably go into history books as a October revolution. If you're not familiar with the term, Google it. Yeah, this is something that you want to pay attention to, and something that a keyword that you will probably read more often, namely menticide. All right, so the future wars, guys, they are not really going to be conducted the way they were in the past, with sort of cannon fodder and individual humans sort of used as a combat kind of war, more so in regards to what people are supposed to think and the realities that they are supposed to see. So, hence, sort of the parallels with the Matrix movies. Yeah. But and this is something that has been happening here throughout the year, the media wars that we have been seeing, the data handling, how exactly pretty much how I have been predicting this here for a long time, and all this is falling apart now. All right, the word menticide is a word that refers to fucking with people's minds, basically, and as a means of war, as a means of well, you know, manipulating people, yeah, in the sense of mind control, but more than that, yeah, literally making them lose their minds. And that's something that will now become more visible and will have to be investigated. So there are a lot of organizations and associations that are popping up now. October will be full of new formed collectives and societies and so forth that are coming forward as sort of integrity checkers, as something like collaboratives, or concerned lawyers all over the world, concerned doctors, concerned scientists, concerned sociologists, concerned psychologists and teachers, literally pointing this out to people, how dangerous this is that is happening right now in our media, in our environment, with how we are being manipulated as to what we're supposed to think. This is much more severe than you think it is. And I want to just point out, for those of you who have been on this sort of fringe dweller side of society, that you guys have so much training in this, that if you haven't realized yet that you have something to offer here, if you have not been able to heal that and contextualize that as a power, as something that you can actually use and assist other people with, then I would say this is really the time now where you need to go into healing with this. This isn't the time to say, I told you so. This isn't the time to say, oh, see, I'm right, just because you've experienced ridiculing or shaming in the past. This is the time where you have to realize that this is real. This is full on, okay? And if it helps you to come to some sort of karmic reconciliation with your own trauma, then this is the time where you can see what the meaning, of your past, and why this was so much struggle for you in the past. So I really want to send out these words of courage and hope to all of you, because it is important that we recognize the purpose of our trauma and the synchronicity in that. As I have sort of called this the theme of September. In October, the theme is integrity, and as such, really the integrity of realities. Here, the picture for the energy alignment that you can listen to on SoundCloud, that allows your energy body to go into higher levels of integrity through this invocation style, these energy processes that I produce every month. The way this will turn out for us, the challenges here for us individually, obviously it depends a lot on which country you live in, what kind of society, what kind of setting, socioeconomical setting you're in. But the overall energies here in October will feel challenging in a way that we will all kind of feel a bit of this sort of immediacy and this need to move on and to close out things. Okay, there's a completion of an old cycle, and maybe you will feel this more in the sense of anxiety, okay, needing to do something new real quick, or coming up with new solutions real quick, and it will feel a bit pressured. So my tip for you is to actually teach yourself and discipline yourself to calm down, so that you can, you need to work with your nervous system here, as I always describe this in the weekly energy updates, and work with your ability to actually clear your mind and see through some of these body-mind reactions, right, where your nervous system takes over your emotions and your thoughts. So moving on is really important here in October, and there will be cool aspects about this, but here for this particular slide, the challenges, I want to describe what this might feel like from the inside. It might actually feel like that you are literally or figuratively feeling locked in, self-imposed restrictions, came up earlier here in the discussion. It's almost like this this purge energy, this release that was needed in September to move on and to find closure in our own willingness to grow and our willingness to actually learn from the past, that got stuck a little bit. So there will be, especially in the first week of October, there will be sort of a delayed release, and unfortunately that's going to trigger a lot of sort of unresty feelings in the majority of our populations, because these revelation aspects of last month, they're going to continue throughout the end of the year. Okay, it's going to build and build and build, because right now what we're seeing is a doubling and tripling down on these alternate realities, and therefore the tension isn't released yet. That will happen in October, and then also in November. It will trigger some of your traumas. I just mentioned that. You will be reminded of things in the past, especially those of you who have been through a bit of, you know, maybe relationships with narcissists or narcissistic personality types, of a family constellation or a job, a boss, where you literally had to fight for your own needs and your own wants. And many of us are in this place that we don't even permit ourselves to have needs and wants. Okay, if this is how you grew up, it will really trigger this part in you that you dismiss your own needs and wants unless you've already worked through this. And the way this will come to you is in regards to safety, what you deem or believe safety is, and what you are willing to sell for it, what you are willing to sacrifice for it. Yeah, this will be the big integrity question for October. Yeah, here just a hint for those of you who have already identified or are about to identify that you know, some of their inabilities or their restrictions, and especially the self-imposed restrictions, lead back to toxic family systems. Please don't all turn on your parents or your neighbors or whatever, because you know they have their karma to carry as well. And it's very important that we understand here that this collective gaslighting that is going on, that this is not just now. This has been going on for 30, 40, 50, actually much longer. I've already mentioned this before, but specifically here regarding these last, you know, the current and the last 2 generations, this has been going on for a long time. So your parents wouldn't have been able to see that before either. So stepping into our health authority is now really the last call, guys. You really got to step up, especially if you live in the Northern Hemisphere, if you're heading into winter months with less light and less sort of vitamin D in your system. You got to change some of your health routines, and that will be challenging for some of you. Okay, so this is really the months where you need to put that into action. Yeah, October comes with a very pragmatic, a very sensual, a very sort of 3D energy to it, and it's very important that we step into this. Now, here with the next point, more joy and humor. I was wondering why I would put that on the challenges slide, but it's because it will be very hard to actually see humor and to find ways to add joy and beauty to our lives. So this will be a challenge, and it is so much needed. Yeah, so if you can remember this, yeah, that humor is a very high vibratory healing resonance. If you can remember to bring that in here with, you know, no matter how tragic your situation is, not sarcastic, not sarcasm, you know, or cynicism, but to move into lightness, and maybe also a good portion of self-humor, you know, where you see your own rigidities and your own restrictions and your own sort of OCD sometimes, and where you just like crack a joke about it. It helps everybody. to release that tension, that tension of restriction. For many of us, we're going to have to really work with the healthy masculinity and femininity. I've mentioned this yesterday in the energetic tune-up. It's a particularly difficult time for all of you spiritual men out there, because we actually need healthy masculinity right now. And I'm saying this as a woman right now. It's really important that you guys, regardless of what your belief system is, that you recognize that a big part of this masculine energy, and this can also be understood as those of you who have chosen masculine energies. Okay, this is not just related to the gender, but obviously primarily to men who have chosen by what they identify with, that you step into that you really step into this protective and directive energy now. Okay, it is also important really to investigate healthy femininity in that regards. That it comes with the patience and the unconditionality of recognizing that we can learn through mistakes the best, and we learn through pain 2.5 times faster. That's part of basically our human nature, and to have compassion for that with ourselves and others. So since we have masculine and feminine energies within ourselves, all of us, we have to work on both of these levels. But October is a month that really wants the healthier expressions of our masculine energies, and that means that we have to step in, we have to make a stance, we have to step up, we have to really show up for ourselves, and sometimes also for others if we have families and so forth. Obviously, in regards to mind control and menticide, perception problems, this the really will be more or less the biggest theme here for the rest of the year, and also way into 22, namely this straddling between two realities and accepting that there are different realities at this very moment. And that we have to come to terms with that, in that sense that we don't start fighting against another. Unfortunately, on this more sort of world political and economical stage, that will not work. Okay, so we will see new kinds of wars emerging on top of this sort of media war that is going on. So these realities, these seemingly conflicting realities, they are producing a lot of cognitive dissonances in people, and that makes people sick. It makes people not be able to think clearly, feel clearly, and sense clearly, and that's why the word menticide can be seen as a tool of war. Forgiveness for the pain of the past has to do with not going into judgment here. You have to understand that this is deliberate and systematic. Okay, so it takes a warrior of the heart. It takes someone with a lot of training, and that happens to be a lot of you guys, okay, with processed trauma. So you have to understand that this is not what you can expect now to see from these majorities. It will trigger identity issues in many of us, a false sense of belonging, false sense of security. Latest when some of the things that we have always counted on, I can only speak for the United States right now, something like health insurance, or something like pensions and social security, when those things start becoming questionable, and issues with corruption and so forth, things that we could never believe existed here in this country. When these things come or become more obvious, it will be really rough for a lot of people. So that's because we have sacrificed and well, more or less sold our love and our soul sometimes for these things. Yeah, it's very difficult for people to accept that. The opportunities are that that we will see a whole entirely new context, and this will help many of us to see really new doors opening. Those aren't really new, these things were always there. It's just that through that confrontation with untruths, we are being forced to make a stance, and that allows us to become more courageous and fearless, and step into something that was kind of always there, but that we've sort of withheld a bit. And in October, you're going to feel that empowerment. You're going to feel that that support to really step into this. This is interesting, as a coach and energy therapist, I can tell you that there's nothing more empowering for a person than working through their trauma and recognizing the virtues that they have developed in the course of working through trauma, really actively working with it, not processing it and re-traumatizing themselves, but actually really going into forgiveness and compassion with things, really recognizing these higher expressions of humanness and the warmth and the love, the unconditionality that we can learn to access through our trauma, or processing trauma healing, and in that way, it's really a beautiful opportunity for true healing, for much deeper levels of healing for all of us. And healing, just as a reminder here, is something from an energetic point of view that we regard as something that moves from a lower vibratory into a higher vibratory state relative to what it was before. In other words, it's basically the progress, and there are certain thresholds, truth being one of those thresholds. So when something moves into truth and beyond, it becomes self-sustaining. It does no longer need a projection or sort of our ego's force to be sustained. Okay, and it becomes self-propelling. It's very interesting for those of you who are interested in the more sort of detailed work of energy work, how this can be measured. Yes, the opportunity of closure can also be something positive, namely that some of you might actually feel that it's time to finally buy this house. Yeah, we're thinking about buying houses for years, and now is the time. Why is this a good time for that? Because in times of crisis, humans have, and this is, you can look this up in history, always gravitated to its intrinsic values, to tangibles, things that are very tangible. Yeah, and that means that even though we're looking into a time of hyperinflation now, we are also looking at really the things that mean something to people, like home, family, like I predicted many years ago, that these will become our priorities. Security and so forth, that these things will become more valuable. So in other words, they may not rise in price because there's multiple economic things and shifts and redistributions that are happening right now, but they will definitely not lose any value. So many people will intuitively feel this, and that's why I think this is a good move. For many of you, it's also that these trauma triggers that I've mentioned, that they come with this need to have, it's this sort of most fundamental need, shelter and protection on Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Yeah, it may not be needed for you to own a house if you don't own one yet, but you will feel that as an impulse. And if it's not about owning, then think about how you can make your home, how you can produce a safer space within your own home. Like I've mentioned before, there will be an impulse that comes in as sort of as an unexpected courage, as an unexpected support when you step into your your true self, when you say yes to yourself, okay? And many of you will start new careers, some of which will be related to the mandates and, you know, just literally being forced out of your job, okay? But not entirely. This is also a lot of people discovering what their true skill set is and how that can be of service to others. This will really change in the future, like what kind of jobs are needed and wanted, okay? And obviously everything that is healing related will be very, very high in demand. Yeah, so you healers and light workers and shamans and so forth out there, you are going to be really busy, but you have to do this the right way. All right, so this is a really good month, October, to found your corporation or your business, and to get started on this. Self-healing wise, the deeper processes that we can look at in October have to do with obviously continued systematic energy management, but also the neutral self-reporting. We have to come to terms that we as humans exist on different levels, dimensions of reality at all times. Yeah, I often, pretty much every single talk that I do, I mention this, yeah, on the physical, emotional, mental, spiritual and energetic level. Those are the different realities that we can perceive ourselves as, or our life and our world and us in the world as. And you can train this with neutral self-reporting, where you come to terms with the fact that, you know, physically you're feeling like this, emotionally you're feeling like this, mentally, you know, intellectually you're feeling like that, spiritually, and by self-reporting this to you, that you feel this in these different ways, you'd be surprised what happens. I've been training this for over 10 years, systematic energy healing with yourself, and you begin to see a new picture of yourself. So things such as compassion and forgiveness and so forth that I've mentioned a few minutes ago, they will become much more tangible for you, and you will recognize that it's not mystical at all. There's a system to that, but you have to learn how to work with that, and it starts with the different levels of your perception. Yeah, new levels of self-love that then literally comes as a consequence of you dealing with these different realities within yourself. Yeah, you begin to see how you couldn't have done things differently in the past because you simply couldn't see those different dimensions before. Ideally, and you know, this is basically what I teach, you know, it leads to us recognizing the need for more togetherness and intimacy with another, obviously not in the physical sense, but in the sense of sharing and collaborating and really working together, like I have been doing here this last month. I started a daily energy prayer on a YouTube live, 20 minutes every day at the same time, coming together and offering our energy to this sort of higher vibratory work, where we write a prayer together and do this in a non-denominational, non-religious way. It's just us realizing our inner power and how that multiplies and amplifies when we come together. Something along those lines, as I have always emphasized, group work as practically the highest level of self-healing here at transCODES in the different courses and programs that I have. It will also show us the karmic purpose of some of our pains of the past and what we have been perceiving as flaws. Those things will turn out to be real gems and real treasures of our own personality, because we have learned to recognize that through our trauma in the past, that we have been forced to develop these virtues, and this is then also a big part of this recontextualization in October, where everything will just take on a whole new perspective. So the antidote for October integrity is signified here through these energies and the need to focus more on that, standing in truth, deeper soul connection, humor, yeah, support, and moving forward without closure. It's okay to not sort of having a happy ending. You guys have to let go of the Hollywood version of life that is not real. However, it doesn't mean that it's sort of Dante's Inferno. It doesn't mean that. So the opposite of non-Hollywood ending is not apocalypse. Okay, the ending or moving forward without closure is a more mature way of moving forward. Yeah, and recognizing that sometimes things they just don't fit anymore, and that's it. And that moving forward and the willingness to grow is basically the strongest way I can show up for myself without needing to explain it or justify it. Yeah, embracing a new reality and conscious questioning. It's not a time for self-destruct, guys. Many of you will feel sort of or have the sense of hopelessness, or what the heck, it doesn't matter anymore. This is really part of this menticide manipulation that you are subjected to. So be careful with this. If you have those kind of thoughts, go reach out to someone, a friend, a therapist, a coach, a mentor, or energy reader, energy healer, because this is not real. All right, this is part of the overlay, the projection that you're subjected to. It's also really important to discipline ourselves a bit, whether it's the one side of our darkness, the passivity and externalizing everything, or the blind action and trying to rebel against everything. Both are not conducive in October. Funny, when I wrote this, I thought, I want to express something along those lines that, we really don't need to sort of try to work around things or beat around the bush or something like that. And we should really stay away from sugar too. And in my sort of connected mind immediately started to think about sugar coating, and maybe we should eat the cakes without sugar coating. This is all complicated stuff, but really what I want to say is be direct, yeah, go forward, and on a physical level, stay away from sugar because it really trashes your immune system and feeds cancers. Anyway, just real quick here, a few minutes, I'm just going to zoom through this. Physical challenges, things that we need to look out for, the emotional reality that we are going to experience, and mentally, okay, what it is that we need to focus on. If you signed up to my newsletter, you'll get the slides, and you can basically figure this out how I mean this, because it would be redundant for me to go through this here. Just real quick, a note, I always point out the energetic challenges are based on the chakra system. Most likely, you're going to feel a lot of pressure here in your throat chakra. That is everything pertaining your throat, your neck, your shoulders, your sort of above your heart, your higher heart chakra. Yeah, the thymus. Thymus is going to be very important. That you maybe tap it. There's a video called Thymus Tapping that I have on the YouTube channel. Is to increase your lymphatic release, the whole sort of elimination of toxins really needs to be sped up. Here in the Northern Hemisphere, it's not so good time for detoxing now. That should have happened basically sort of August, September, but obviously, sort of a 3-day light fast where you just have juices and broths or something like that is always useful and sort of kickstarts your metabolism. It's about standing in your truth and expressing your truth, guys. And this has to do with really releasing some of these locked in and held back emotions, the unacknowledged pain of the past. It's hard to do this on your own. You really need someone to guide you through that, to acknowledge the pain of the past. Your second chakra, that's your belly area, that's your lower belly, that's your sacral area, will act up. Your heart chakra obviously requires you to step into true courage. That is a different kind of courage than the one that our ego or our willpower alone suggests. It is the kind of courage that you feel when you know that something is true for you and nothing else matters. Yeah, some of you might feel this in conjunction with the mandates and the vaccines. All right, you will be supported if you step into that courage. Overall, same theme here for our first and seventh chakra. That's sort of the anchoring of ourselves in the universe. It needs to focus around security, true security, what makes you feel safe. Yeah, also here, just a quick hint to these healthy masculine energies that I've mentioned earlier. Important dates here, yeah, you can see we have a little bit of an issue here right in the first week of October, guys. This time here, 6th, 7th till the 9th, a bit critical time. Okay, watch out, lots of accidents will happen in that time. These continued revelations that I've talked about, they will go much deeper than people thought. On October 16th, 17th, we're going to see something here in regards to our financial systems. New lockdowns possible. It depends on where you're at in the world. And really around the 20th of October, guys, yeah, I hate to say it, but something that I have been calling fanaticism, I always thought that it would come in form of like sort of religious fanaticism, but I'm seeing now that this is linked to the menticide, to this sort of systematic mindfuck, so to speak. So we're going to see people really losing their heads, like running around like chickens with a cut off head. It's not funny, the pictures here, the images. Those of you who are in cryptos, guys, there's a correction coming. Okay, we can see levels of 35K for BTC, all the way maybe even 32. Watch out for 6th of October. If you are a hodler, and you guys know what these words mean, I'm not going to explain this. I have training videos here on my YouTube channel. You're going to be fine. Okay, continued alt season. In other words, there are some really cool companies that are emerging right now. Look at those companies that are providing safe data networks for all these media outlets that have been banned or restricted. Yes, so the courage to live truth comes from the courage to love truth. That's a bit of a mantra here for this month of October. And there really isn't anything we need to worry about if we can feel who we truly are, and if we can allow ourselves to live according to our needs and wants. And sometimes we need the reminder, and this is something here that is in the energy alignment. Yeah, it sounds like true self. Yeah, you speaking to your own true self. Remind me to stay awake and aware. Help me to feel and discern the power of integrity so that I can see through the distractions of fear and loss. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for participating live. Thank you for watching this video, for giving it a thumbs up. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel. If you're interested in the daily energy prayer, you'll find a playlist there. There's a new live stream link every day. If you are interested in the daily sacred self meditations that are going on Skype, also publicly accessible for free. Or if you're interested in any of my programs, please go to transcodes.com and see if some of these training or programs, courses that I have, or private individual sessions, if they could be interesting for you. I wish you a wonderful October. guys. Yeah, it's amazing. Also something that we can thank our true selves for, to be so conscious in times like this. Don't see this as a tragedy. Yeah, see this as something that almost like a badge of honor, okay, that you chose to be fully awake and aware in these times. Love you guys. Bye bye.